Okay, which brings us about right. How did I do right on time? 2 minutes early, but you're going to love what Jen Greene has in store tonight. She's been doing real estate um, for a while now, and she's built her entire business. Even though she understands lead flow and all, in regards to internet and all that, it comes down to people and providing solutions and being helpful, adding value to what you do to help people. So those relationships have just propelled her to, sky high um, deals. So she has a lot of good stuff to say. So with that in mind, I'm just going to let Jen take over, and I'm going to scroll down my screen. And I think I made you a co-host, didn't I? Okay, Jen,
Yeah,
you're a
you did.
co-host. Awesome.
You did. Yeah. Okay,
Howdy.
great. Hi, thanks for having me. Is it as cold by you as it is by us? I'm in Minnesota, guys.
I'm
I
currently,
know the
tell you the
face is
truth.
like, ugh.
But a t-shirt, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Do you mind, because I'm gonna have to share my screen, Duncan?
Okay, let me stop mine.
Yeah.
And there we go. My
Okay,
screen share. You're up.
great. Okay, so I know obviously I'm just going to say this with being on Zoom, it's harder to have interactions with people and see reactions and go back and forth. And so I'm going to do my best here, like I said, to keep everybody engaged. A lot of the times I like to ask questions. And obviously the chat's going to be open. And so I mean, please feel free to write stuff in there. I don't know if I'll be able to see it, but it's something that we can get to at the end, when I finish, and then we can go back and go through those questions. So I assume, Kelly, maybe you'll be following some of that stuff and be able to help out with that. But I would love, like I said, any kind of questions that you guys have. I'm super excited to share this with you guys because nobody else is teaching it. So it's a newer concept. I think that maybe some people might be doing, but don't necessarily have a systematized approach on how to do this. And so, like I said, I'm super excited to share it with you. All right. So I am going to now just give me a moment to share my screen and then we can get started. All right. Okay, I'm going to minimize myself. Okay, guys. So, as Duncan said, it's really on building strategic partnerships. And it's something you're going to hear the story of how this all kind of came to be. And it's actually quite funny. I'm going to warn you now, and you will get a trigger warning. There are quite a few swears and things and horrible things that I was called. But I think maybe some of you can probably relate to this being investors. If you guys have sent out any kind of marketing, you've most likely gotten some negative responses. And so this is kind of where this whole thing stemmed from. So you're going to see on that bottom there, it says real estate investment success really is not found in the list, it's found in the relationship. And that's really, like, as Duncan told you, is really what I've built my business on now. So this is Joe Foster, guys. Joe Foster is the founder of Reebok. And if you guys are familiar with Reebok, it started actually, he and his dad actually started as a shoemaker back in the 1800s. And he and his brother then started Reebok in the 1950s. And I had the pleasure of meeting him. I had him on my podcast. And the cool thing is I, just asked him about Reebok. And if you guys remember Reebok in the 80s, all right, if you were around, I remember this, that there was a huge influx of Reeboks all of a sudden with Jane Fonda as their ambassador and their brand ambassador. And if you remember, right, and he was in aerobics, those really soft white leather shoes, right, that had like the pinholes on the top and like the Velcro on the top. I like really remember those. And the thing is that those shoes and Jane Fonda being their brand ambassador brought them from a $9 million company to a $900 million company in 3 years. Now that's crazy. They cornered the market, obviously, with aerobics. And the thing that Joe said was that he found the white space. And what the white space is if you think about it, it's an area that has not been touched by anybody else. And that's really kind of how I see these partnerships that I've built, is that nobody's really digging into this realm. And so it's more or less kind of an untouched space or an untapped source that nobody's really thinking about. And so as we go through this, all right, I want to show you guys how to copy my system. It's a systematized approach with strategic marketing that gets you continuous inbound deal flow. All right. This is going to get you to close more deals. I typically close, guys, about 2 to 4 deals a month on this, and it nets me an average about $40,000 to $50,000 a deal. Now, again, Boston is a different market. I've kind of spoken in a couple different places around the country. But usually, I mean, Missouri, it's a little bit lower. Seattle, it's higher. Boston, I would assume it's a little bit higher for you guys too, just based on your price points. But that's the thing, is if you're a person who wants to close 2 to 4 deals a month with little to no marketing costs, I mean, this is something you're going to want to hear. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do this to get these continuous inbound leads, exactly how to get the leads for a fraction of the cost of what you're probably spending on your marketing right now. And then the cool thing too is that I want to talk about credibility and building brand insistence in your market, which more or less means that it takes away the competition if there is, because people are going to want to work with you because of the credibility that you've built. And then also, based upon the credibility that you have, like I said, and then, getting the deal done for you. All right. So when you think about what your biggest problems are, all right, you guys can put some things in the comments here. Um, but marketing costs go out the door, right? This is what I hear so many times, like, oh my gosh, I'm spending thousands of dollars on marketing. I'm not getting anything back. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I know somebody who spends, this is no joke, spends 90 grand a month on marketing, $90,000 a month on direct mail marketing. Guys, I think we know, what does direct mail marketing have? It's a 1% open. I mean, that's well known, right? Throughout real estate investors, it's a 1% open. So they're spending 90,000 a month. Now, again, they're probably doing anywhere from like 8 to 10 deals a month, but I sure as heck don't want to be spending 90 grand a month when I can spend, well, I pretty much now spend nothing. And so it's really common though for people to spend a couple $1,000s, anywhere like $2,000 to $5,000 a month on marketing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can get more results for a couple $100s a month than you're accustomed to than getting that 2,000 per month. Okay. I also know that people constantly chase leads. I mean, how many times have you gotten on the phone? You're like, I'm following up. I'm just following up. I'm just following up. I mean, it's the same message every single time. And it just gets old after a while. And then it makes you not want to do that call. Pulling the same list as everyone else. I mean, I think if you guys pull lists, if you buy lists, sorry, but there's only a few different places. They're all selling the same list and they're selling it to the same people in the same market, and you're reaching out to the same people. I mean, I can even see by hands, if you guys put up hands of how many times have you shown up to, a property and there's like, I don't know, 8 to 10 people there, or they're like, oh, I'm trying to get bids from 5 other people. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're running into. I know in my market, I know in some of the other places that I've spoken to, there's a lot of competition. I think a lot of people ended up getting into real estate investing, after the crash in 08, 09, in 11, 12, 13. And it's just kind of become a really big thing to get into. And then getting through the FUs, guys, to get to a yes. Sometimes people say you have to have 99 no's in order to get one yes. And you're going to see example of some of the some of the FUs that you get tonight. Don't be offended by my mouth, but we are in Boston, so maybe you guys don't care. But that's one of the things, is hearing some of those FUs, like I said, and that's, like I said, what really catapulted me into doing something different. So what Great Deals First, and that's what my program is called. What this is really about is how this is going to actually really change your life in the way that you invest. It builds systems to get you there faster and more efficiently. Like I said in the beginning, nobody else is doing this marketing. You're going to be talking to sellers that no one else is talking to, right? A lot of the times when I show up and my students show up to these people, to these folks, they've not met with anybody else. They're not interested in meeting with anybody else because of that strategic partnership and the credibility of the like, know, and trust that you're able to build up even before you meet with them. Guys, your cost per close is going to go significantly less, right? Because no one else is doing it and you get the deal closed. I mean, for me, I close about 82. I think my close rate is about 82.6% on these versus my 24.7 on my traditional marketing. So it's a huge change. And then you get the deal, right? That nobody else is getting. a lot of the time, sometimes I've heard from people, yeah, but Jen, what if we all end up marketing to the same people? Well, here's the deal, guys. I've been doing this for almost 6 years, and there's still new partners that I'm meeting with that I've not met with yet. And that's the thing is that there's plenty of fish in the sea, guys. I come from an abundance mindset. I'm not somebody who runs on a scarcity mindset. There's plenty out there for everybody. And a lot of the time, some of my students end up partnering together on some of this stuff too, just because there's so much available out there. Okay. So I just want you to keep that, you know, your mind open for that. All right. Now, building momentum, some people really also want to become an authority in their market. That's something that you're capable of doing too. And I'm going to show you how to build that credibility tonight so that you can be that go-to person in your market. Because real estate, you guys see that bottom line in there. Real estate isn't what you know or who you know, but it's who knows you. And what ends up happening from this is that the people that you do your deals with end up then marketing for you, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times now I get calls coming in and they're like, "Oh, so and so told me about you." And I'm like, "Oh, who's so and so?" And they tell me and I'm like, "I have no idea who that person is." And it's like the greatest response that I can get is that I know how people are talking about me behind my back, right? And that's what really ends up happening is they can tell you all the things to your face, but if you start getting referrals and stuff that's coming into you, right, from people that you don't know, it means that it's working, right? So a lot of the times people ask me this too. All right, who's this for, Jen? I'm completely new to real estate. I've never done a deal before in my life. To people who are like, nope, I've done hundreds of deals. I'm just looking for a new lead strategy. Now, this is kind of for all of those people. I've had people who are completely new to this. I've had people who are seasoned, and I've had people who are all kind of in the middle. A lot of the times it's people who are looking for a new lead strategy that isn't going to cost a ton of money because again, a lot of people are doing direct mail. And we'll talk about some of those strategies too. But a lot of the times, my biggest thing that I say for people is that this is for people who want to consistently get those 2 to 4 deals a month, turn around a $40,000 to $50,000 profit, and be successful at it and not wing it. Um, I'm going to I'll show you guys how to implement this going forward instead of you trying to wing it. I'm going to show you exactly what happens when you do try to wing it because that was me right before I figured out the strategy of how to do this. And so I want to show you guys what that looks like. All right. So I want to just tell you a little bit about me here. I've owned like Duncan said, I've been in property or I've been in investing for a little bit for a little while, about 7 years or so. And a couple awards that I've won along the way. This isn't to like look at me page. It's just to kind of let you guys know that my credibility is there. I've been doing this for a while. And I think one of the best compliments that I got is from one of my coaches, JT, said that I'm one of the most forward-thinking women he's seen in real estate in a long time. And honestly, it's because of me doing this. When I first met him in 2018, I started doing this. This was sort of my approach. And he's like, you need to build that out some. He's like, that's a really good thing to do. So I did. And that's the cool thing that ended up happening is I've been on stage with some really awesome people, which has been super fun. And I've been able to interview them. You guys see there on the top left, Stedman Graham, that's Oprah's partner. Hugh Hilton and Mike Slade. Yes, that is Hugh Hilton of Hilton Hotels. Mike Slade is actually the right hand to, or he was, to Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Kiefer Sutherland, Cole Hauser, if you guys are Yellowstone fans, Fred Fishback and Rami El-Batrawi. Fred Fishback is, if you guys remember back in the day, we all used to take Scantron tests, with number 2 pencils, right? And you had to feed it in there. This is the guy who invented online testing. So he's a billionaire, which like right place, right time kind of thing. It's really awesome to talk to him. And Rami is actually, unfortunately, he's passed away a couple months ago, but he's somebody who went from like nothing to millions to nothing to billions to nothing. I mean, he's one of those people. And at the time of his death, he was building the infrastructure of an entire country in South America. And then Phil Jackson, guys. I'm a basketball fan. I grew up in Chicago. This was probably like one of the most poignant moments in my life. I got to interview him, and one of my favorite questions that I asked him was, guys, I said, what is the one biggest regret that you have on coaching? And he said, my biggest regret is that I didn't treat my deep bench players, so my 9, 10, 11, 12 players, like I did my starting 5. And so the thing I think about is that so many of us, it's like drinking from a fire hose when we do real estate investments. There's so much information, there's so much we can do. It's shiny object syndrome. And a lot of the times people sort of become a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And then the way that I like to think about this is this lets you guys get to the root of it and become that go-to in your market and put you in that starting lineup. All right. So before we go into this, I want to say for those of you who stay all the way till the end, guys, you guys are going to get a free gift from me. So remember that, like I said, once we get to that end, um, you guys are going to get a completely free gift from me. No obligations or anything. Okay. So I do want to tell you about Property House and where I started because I think this is really, really important. So, guys, I am a criminologist. That is what I did for almost 20 years before I stepped into the real estate space. I specialized in sex trafficking, human trafficking, sexual violence. It's a super heavy topic. A lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, ugh, and nobody, nobody really wants to talk about that when you say, what do you do? But it was a job that I had and I loved and I still love it. I just, once I had my kids, it was something I didn't want to do. But the thing is too, is right when I got out of grad school, I ended up working in a jail and became known as Mean Jen. And the reason being is because I hated being there. I mean, the first day, guys, when I went out onto the floor, I'll never forget, I was a program coordinator. I went out on the floor and there was a woman who had broken the mirror in her room and then literally took the shard of glass and was like jabbing it in her arm. And there was like blood flying. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I like ran back into the office and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And they're like, well, you need to clean it up. I'm like, I'm not cleaning that up. I mean, it was the craziest thing. I ended up staying there for 2.5 years and it was not enjoyable, right? I moved into some of my human trafficking stuff. I did bartended at night. I wrote grants during the day. Um, I mean, you name it, guys. I did IT sales for a while. I worked as a center director for Sylvan. I worked as a barista. I mean, what this tells you guys is that I realized I was a very bad W-2 employee. That's what this told me, right? And I was like, this is not for me. This is not working. And then my wonderful husband, Dan, um, was in IT he's still in IT, for 20 years, right? Has just, that's what he liked to do. He was with the same company for a really long time, until he wasn't. And you guys will hear that story too. So we ended up having, two boys. And on the bottom left, there's my son, Kellen. And in the top right, that's Jonah with the crazy hair. And when I had them, my younger one that's up in the right corner, that's Jonah, he actually was born about 6 weeks early. And so the first year of his life, I honestly like to say that it was garbage. We were in and out of hospitals quite a bit. There was no way for me to be able to work because I would never have been able to be there. And so, my husband took on that time. Well, then all of a sudden, what ended up happening was that while I was home with the kids, Dan calls me in October 2017. And he's like, Jen, I got to tell you something. And I said, what? And he goes, I just got laid off. And it was one of those like, oh God, what are we going to do? And I had that moment of like, you know what? This is the time where you sink or swim. And it was one of those moments for me that I said, you know what? This is the time for us to change what we're doing and how we're doing it. It's time for us to create our own economy and for us to determine what it is that we're worth. And so I dove in head first into real estate. Now, it was not all diamonds and pearls, right? It was not a good experience when I first started, guys. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with any of those big box real estate companies. But what that means is that I dropped 60 grand on a program that I literally got barely any value out of, in my opinion. 60,000. Yes, you heard me right. 60 grand, right? For 1 year of coaching. All right. And what ended up happening was that, I found that what I really needed was a lot more direction, a lot more hand holding, a lot more accountability. Because every time I would talk to my coach, you know what he'd say to me? I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and all these things because I'm a doer. I was doing it. But then what ended up happening was that I'd say, what do I do next? And he's like, just keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, literally, it's like burned in my brain because that's all he said to me. And that made me just almost want to give up, because that's not what I needed. And so, and again, and I was like, God, I've spent 60 grand on this program. And I'll tell you guys right now, that program has been sued. And then I actually just got some money back in the mail. Definitely doesn't cover the 60 grand, but they were like a class action suit against a whole bunch of people that they did not provide the value. And so that was kind of where I started. Um, and what it ended up looking like was, again, I was taught the same kind of traditional marketing that a lot of other people are taught. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I still do some of this stuff too, guys. Like I still do some direct mail marketing. I do some of this stuff. But the thing is that this is what everybody else is doing. It's the same thing, right? That's taught. And it's, again, it's not wrong. It just sometimes takes a really long time to get to that deal. And also it can be really expensive. I mean, like I said to you guys in the beginning, the direct mail marketing, right? It's a 1% open rate. You're lucky if it's 3, but how much mail do you really have to spend out and how much, do you have to spend in stamps and paper and envelopes and all of that in order to really get a return, right? Same thing, cold calling, texting, emailing. Guys, there's CPA guidelines that have come in right now. If you're familiar with it, right? Cold calling and doing like mass outbound calls is really now frowned upon and people are getting in trouble. And I'm going to tell you right now, I got some friends in Wisconsin of mine who are in really big trouble with their state. They're anywhere right now between a $700,000 fine to a $7 million fine. I'm not joking. And that's crazy, right? When you think about it, because they've done so many calls that they weren't supposed to do, they got cease and desist letters. They're like, it's fine. We're not going to do it. We're not going to stop. They kept doing it. Now they're in really big trouble and they're going back and forth. And so the thing is that don't get me wrong, I think we all kind of walk that gray line, and a lot of people can say, like, well, I'm not selling anything when I do my outbound calls. All I'm doing is, I'm offering a service. Well, a lot of the times TCPA doesn't see it that way. So something to think about, right? Buying lists. Again, I think if we're buying lists, we're all buying the same list. There's no new list that come out, right? There's foreclosure, there's, high equity, there's divorce. I mean, all of the lists are the same, right? Bandit signs. I think we all know bandit signs are illegal. I don't know if you guys do them by you, but by us, I mean, it snows here. So if you do any of them in the winter, usually by the next day they're gone because the plow has gone through, right? And pushed them out of the way. So you just dropped, I don't know how much money, on those, and you're not necessarily getting the return on it, right? Same thing here with wholesalers. Again, no, I'm not throwing any shade at wholesalers, okay? I think some of them do a really great job, but honestly, for me, the numbers don't ever work for me. Typically, like they're selling at 70% of ARV, but then there's nothing there for rehab. And so maybe for like, somebody who's doing rentals or things like that, it can work. But for somebody like me who majority does rehabs, it's not really going to work. So I haven't found any wholesalers by me that I enjoy working with. And then the MLS guys, once it hits the MLS, it's pretty much going to be it's gone, right? I mean, it's not a good deal by the time that it hits the MLS. And so some of those things to think about, is that that's what we're taught right now. And so at this point, usually what I ask you guys is how is that working for you? Right? I know there's been some comments in the chat, but I can't see it. But I'm assuming maybe some of you are in the same boat and maybe it's not working for you and you're looking for something else because there is a better way to do this. And I'm going to show you guys how to avoid all of that, right? And turn what you have into a winning system and being able to copy my system. That's why I spent the last 5 years or so working on this, into solving this, because why go the hard way, right? Some of you are probably also working full time. And the thing is that you can't put all that time and effort into this, right? Having people swear at you, right? Success leaves clues. All right. And successful people find a system that works and then they copy it. They don't wing it. Do you know what? Did you know that 95% of new businesses fail within the first 5 years? That's not a made up statistic. That is a real statistic. People who wing it on their own typically fail because they don't have a plan. And so again, like I said, it's something to think about, like that success leaves clues. Okay. So here's my official trigger warning. All right. Because I'm going to show you how some of this worked for me. Right. And you're going to see it. I'm just going to start putting these up there. Literally, guys, all I had to do was go through my emails and put the word F you in there. And this is pretty much all the things that popped up. Right. I mean, some of these things are from literally one email. This is one of my favorites that you're the reason it took me 7 months to buy a property. You're effing me over. If you contact anyone in my family again, I'm going to file harassment report. This is somebody that now blamed me pretty much for, real estate investors and developers for causing the homeless crisis in the United States. So our fault. Absolutely. Yep. This one too, this one's my favorite that I should, eat shit and die in rotten hell. And then my last personal favorite, this one. This was literally from one email, you guys. It's crazy. I mean, I can see Kelly's face right now. Yep. So, that's the one face I can see. But these are some of the things, you guys, that I got, and I'll tell you right now. My coaches actually were like, Jen, I've never seen responses like this in my life. And it's like, I'm not even saying anything bad to these people. I'm doing the like, I'm here to help you. I want to do everything that I can to help you. I mean, this is the thing is that people, again, a lot of these are probates, but when people are upset, right, they take their anger and frustration out on people that they don't know. Right. And so it was hard for me to remember that, but I still don't like it. Right. And so at that point, it was like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this anymore. I need to find a better way. Right. And so that's what I did. So my first deal that I had, you guys, was with an attorney. And that's who these relationships are with. All right. Now, my first deal was a probate. And in theory, right, all of these things sound amazing, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to just get this deal and I'm going to get under contract and then I'm going to sell it and everything's going to be great, right? In theory, it all sounds good, but in practice, oh my God, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, right? I had the wrong purchase agreement. I had the wrong type of deed. I had, like a warranty deed and it needed to be a personal representative's deed. I mean, all the things that you can imagine, they were all wrong. And the lawyer wrote this back to me and she's like, Jen, while I appreciate your effort, like she's like, this was all wrong. And so I was like, okay. And so I went to my coach. I said, what do I do? And she said, if she wants to write it for you, let her do that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She said, honestly, just lay your cards on the table, say what it is you need to say, right? And just say, like, this is my first deal and I need your help. And so I wrote her back and I pretty much said that, like, I'm going to lay my cards on the table. This is my first deal. If you could just walk me through it, I'd really, really appreciate it. And I won't screw up again in the future, I promise, kind of a thing. And so this is actually our standard purchase agreement that we use right now. We still use this. And the thing is that she filled out the whole thing for me, pretty much, you guys. And so the cool thing is that then this became my template, right? I still use it to this day with all the things filled in that don't necessarily change from, purchase agreement to purchase agreement. This is what I use. And we got the deal closed. And guys, we've done with her, I've done I think like 8 or 9 deals with her in the last couple years since we've been doing this because again, like we built that trust and relationship there. And so after this point, I was like, well, and it was sort of like a light went off inside me. I was like, well, this is amazing. Like, I'm just going to start shooting stuff out like I do, to all the other people. And I'm just going to send things out and and so it was sort of like a trial and error, right? This was winging it. Okay. There's no blue book, right, for me to follow because nobody was doing this. So all I could do is just try. And so I was, to try and build relationships the best way that I could. Um, so I was like sending emails, I was doing phone calls, I was, hitting their gatekeepers, which, usually it's their paralegal. And they're like, well, do you have, a case going? And I was like, well, no, but I want to talk to, the lawyer. And they're like, no. So like I never got through doing that. I would send letters, I was doing LinkedIn, I was doing Facebook. I mean, all the things you could imagine to try and reach these people. And guess what happened? The same thing happened with the attorneys that were happening with, the other people. So this is now what I was getting in my inbox, but now from the professional community. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, this isn't working either. Like I have to figure out something better, right? Like they were being so mean. Like, I mean, manipulating people you think are dumb. Like, here, read this book. Like, I mean, it was so patronizing in some ways too. But in some ways, I kind of took it as a lesson and I was like, you know what? They're right. I need to change my marketing message. I need to change the way that I'm approaching people. And I need to actually build relationships that add value not only to their clients, but also to the lawyers. Because if I don't, they're going to think I'm this person, right? Which is the message that I was sending was that they thought I was this jerk person. And I know that I'm not because truly for me, like I am really here to help people out of crap situations. That's really what this is about is real estate investing. Well, yes, we're going to make a paycheck at the end of the day because that's what we do as investors, right? We've got to feed our families and ourselves and do all the things. But also, we need to be able to provide that value and build the like, know, and trust so that they keep coming back to you. And so, what I ended up doing was that I started building my brand. Guys, this is a really important piece of this. Okay. The point of this is so that you can build your brand to that your personal brand and your business brand. Those are two very different things, right? But what it means is that then people know who you are as a person and they know who you are as a business. All right. I want you to become authority in your market, right? It's either providing a service that no one else does or being the best at it, right? Doing follow through. If you say you're going to do something, then do it. No excuses. Guys, you're going to hear about a house later that took me a year to close. And I pushed and pushed and pushed on that because that title was as cloudy as you could make it. I mean, it was storming for days, right? There were judgments, there were liens, there were tax problems, there was a foreclosure, there was a death. I mean, it's like you name it, it was all over this thing. But I got it done because it was from one of my attorney partners. And the thing is like now she sends everybody to me because she knows I'm going to get it done, right? And so being authentic, a lot of the times, a lot of people will show up and be like, oh, I've done hundreds of deals and da 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 da, and they really haven't. I'm not a big proponent of that. Act as if, right? But don't fake it till you make it. Being consistent, keeping the same messaging, right? Not only with the same messages, but the same on brand. I mean, you guys see everything in this is the plum color, black and white. Everything that I have is that color. That is Property House. That's my real estate business, Great Deals First. That's my, that's this program. It's one of those things that's extremely important is to make sure you keep that. All right. And then also work until you don't have to tell them your name. This is the last thing I think I told you guys in the beginning, right? Is now I'm getting people who call me and email me all the time. Oh, my attorney told me to come to you. And honestly, I'd say probably 50% of the time, I have no idea who this attorney is, but my name has spread through the community, right? And also, I know there's some investors who have come to me and they're like, Jen, all these lawyers know who you are. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, they all have really nice things to say about you. And I'm like, well, thank God. That means I'm doing my job, right? Because again, you don't really know what people think about you until they say something behind your back, right? So one of the things I also want to put in front of you guys is talking about different kinds of brand awareness, um, and getting you guys to that brand insistence. So brand awareness, right? I'm just going to give you a shoes example because it's easy. Let's just use Nike, for example. Everybody knows what Nike is. Everybody's heard of Nike. It's not something that's you say, oh, Nike shoes. People are going to be like, I don't know what that is. So that means that people are aware of it, right? Brand preference is like, let's say you go to a store, right? And you got a pair of Nikes and then you got like, let's say a pair of Reeboks, right? Because we already talked about Reebok, but the Reeboks are on sale, right? So you're like, I'm going to buy the Reeboks. I prefer the Nikes, but the Reeboks are cheaper. So I'm going to go buy those, right? But then there's brand insistence. Brand insistence is that you're like, I don't give a crap where I have to go and what I have to pay. Those are the shoes that I want. So if they're out of it at this store, I'm going to drive 50 miles to go to this store to go get those Nikes. And so that's what this ends up doing, marketing this way, is it gets you to that brand insistence. Okay. I have a deal that I just closed right before Thanksgiving. It was a foreclosure deal. It was from an attorney. And my bid was almost $40,000 less than the highest bid. And you know why she went with me? Because I solved a problem. I also listened to her because she also needed a place to live. I've since gotten her a place to live, right? That's also active listening. And I was able to close the property in time because we literally had a week to close. And so that's the thing. Sometimes you are able to do these deals because you have that credibility, the like, know, and trust is there, and then the brand insistence is there because you do what you say you're going to do. Okay. So that's one of the important things I want you guys to walk away with today. All right. Now, one of the other things that I did was that this was during COVID when I was really building this up. And what I did every week on Facebook is for 18 months straight, I went live every single Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. And each week I did something different. The first week I did a renovation walkthrough. The second week, this is the most important, was an interview with an expert. So this was how I was adding value to these attorneys, right? I would have them on. I usually had like 1 or 2,000 views when it got up to that point. So then people were seeing these folks right? Interview with an expert. It's these attorneys that I had partnerships with. They'd come in, talk about their skill, recommend them, give links to them, all the things, right? So they could be exposed to a completely new audience for free, by the way, right? And then send people to their website or phone or however it was. So this was just adding instant value to them. The third week, I did real estate, market updates. Fourth weeks, I talked about business and entrepreneurship. And then the fifth week was a bonus week, right? And so a lot of the times I had people on, and I also did it pretty strategically, right? What I mean by that is that this is Clarence. Clarence is one of the divorce attorneys that I have a relationship with. And I asked him one time, I said, when are the highest, divorces that you see that they're filed? And he goes, honestly, it's after the holidays. So January and before Valentine's Day. So I said to him, I go, okay, do you want to come on the second week of January? And he's like, sure do. So what did I do? The most important time when most people are going to be filing for divorce, right? I had him on as my expert in that second week of January, and I think he got like 5 clients out of it. And so that's the thing is like thinking strategically, right, about what you can do to add value to these partnerships, relationships, whatever it is that doesn't cost you anything, right? But you're getting on, right, and talking about what it is that they can do for these communities. And it gives them leads without them having to pay for it. So again, it's the marketing that's going back and forth, right? And so you're sending them people, they send you people. So now, right, after I did this, what ended up happening is so now instead of getting this, right, and asking people to torture me by like demons for all of eternity, right, it now turned into this, right? We provide value in housing, right? Challenging real estate matters, right? That's one thing that I do. And I'm not necessarily saying that everybody needs to, that's my niche within a niche, right? Because what this is, this niche, guys, it's an inch wide and a mile deep. And that's a thing. It's the white space of real estate investing. And there's so much available there. But I've kind of then created my niche within a niche, which is the difficult properties that nobody really wants to take on. I like these. I like solving the puzzles. Now I don't want to do them all the time because they are exhausting. However, being able to be the person that's able to do these things, right, and be able to close these deals. And a lot of my students have kind of taken that on too because they're like, well, gosh, yeah, there's a lot of deals that people don't want to do because they're too hard. And I'm like, right, everybody wants to pick the low-hanging fruit, but sometimes those higher up apples, right? Nobody can really get to those. So if you can get on a ladder and get there, then I suggest you try and do that. Now, again, if you're not super, savvy on it or new, obviously that's not going to be it. But thinking about that and how you can help people in order to get to solve their problems while actively listening is really going to be something that's amazing. All right. And so I think you're probably going to know the answer to this, right? Is how much time and money and marketing do I really spend on this campaign? And guys, once I've built these relationships, it's nothing. I spend absolutely $0. Nothing. And that's the beauty in it, right? Is that from spending, like I said, starting this out with a couple $100s a month to be able to start it, then you go to zero. And like I said, these relationships, I spend nothing on them. I send them emails and then they send me emails. Like that's kind of how it works. So I want to show you some of the emails that come in from them, right? That I get in my inbox all the time, right? Referring you a client. She's got a condo to sell. There's a mortgage need to establish. I mean, all these things. I'm just going to keep these kind of piling in. They're going to be reaching out to you. Here's another one. They're going to call you today or tomorrow, right? I mean, I could go through and do this 100 times, right? But these are things that come in all the time. Another one is that, again, I also have some of these attorneys who reach out to me and introduce me to other attorneys. And that's the cool thing is that they're able to do this, right? And like I said, build relationships with me for new people also, right? So the thing is that, one of the coolest things is that I was able to do, this just happened actually, in September. This was somebody who I had not met with yet. And he said to me, he's like, Jen, you've sent me a lot of different information and I'm really hoping that we can meet because I see your letters. Newsletters is also something that I do. And I really enjoy what I've seen. Let's see if we can get together and talk. And so he and I met about a week later. Um, excuse me. And then what ended up happening, he sent me a lead the next week, and I was out there, and we're working with the seller right now. They've got a little bit of title problems, but we're working with the seller right now. So like that's how quickly it happened, right? And so this wasn't even somebody that I'd necessarily met with, but I kept being in his feed. He kept seeing my things, right? And that's kind of building that like momentum of having them be able to see what you're doing. Likewise, I also got this from one of my other attorneys, waiting on some appraisals from the court, and you're going to get first dibs, right? This was just sent to me last week. And so, right before Thanksgiving. So I haven't looked at it yet, but you're getting first dibs. So it's like these are the types, like I said, this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing, my students are seeing, and it takes some of that pressure off of being like, God, I just have to constantly chase and chase and chase and chase. And instead of you sending out emails, right, and making phone calls, it's all coming into you, right? And so you wake up in the morning and that's kind of what ends up happening, right? As I sit there and I'm like, okay, what do I have in my inbox today? Right? So I want to show you guys some of the houses just to show you because again, and I'm not somebody who sit there and say like, oh, look at all of the, the money that I've made on these, but I think it's really important to see what the possibilities are from some of these properties. All right. So this was my first one. This was an assignment, guys. It was a $40,000 assignment. I don't know how many of you guys do wholesale assignments or not, but this was contract price at 230,000. The profit was 40 on it. So this, you can see my assignment down there with Investors Capital. Um, and they, like I said, closed on that in, I think it was in 35 days. So 40,000 in 35 days. A lot of times for people, if you're just starting out, this can really be a big changer in your life, right? Like if somebody said, gosh, I could really use an extra $40,000. I don't think there's anybody out there that's going to say that they couldn't use an extra $40,000, right? So this one here, this is another one that I did as an assignment. I'm going to show you guys some of my assignments in the beginning. This was a $35,000 assignment. I did this one in 35 days. So you can see this house, like I said, it needed a lot of work, but it was a pre-1920 house for me. And I don't do pre-1920 houses because they're terrible. So for me personally, right? A lot of other people like them, but not for me. Likewise, this one here, guys. This was another one. This seller actually was from out of town. I ended up actually, you're going to see down here, I ended up having to amend. I was originally going to make 47 on it. But I ended up having to amend it because the sellers, like I said, lived out of town and they were not able to, they forgot that the water was still on in the house. And so the pipes froze. And so unfortunately, I ended up dropping it about 15,000, for the new investors who were going to buy it because they pretty much had to replace all the pipes. So I still had enough room on there to do it, obviously. So that's why I did it. And this group I've done a lot of wholesales with. So I wanted to keep that relationship together. So I think I'm a pretty good wholesaler. But, again, that's one of the things though, is that, it's one of those things of working with your partners, right? And this person, like I said, was out of town. They didn't want to deal with the property. And like I said, she had forgotten that she did not turn the water off. So it is what it is, but it happens, right? We're in a cold environment. So this one, this was one of my projects, guys, where it was a short sale. This was actually sent to me by a adult protection worker. This because there was a gentleman who um, had roommates, we'll just say that in air quotes, roommates who were stealing from him. They were literally, he had several strokes, and so he wasn't really with it. And they would steal from him. And so he ended up having to move into assisted living. They weren't paying his mortgage. He's in foreclosure. It sort of actually became a drug house, unfortunately. Um, and it was in a really, really nice neighborhood. I mean, this house sold for over $500,000. That's a pretty good price tag for us where we live. And I can't tell you when we closed on this, the neighbors like came over and were like, oh my God, thank you. Because when I cleaned out this house, guys, there was a heroin room, there was a cocaine room, there was a sex toy room, there was a marijuana room. I mean, it's like I can go on and on about this house, and I'm sure you guys have had some of these houses before, but it's just like, oh my God, how do people live in this squalor? But it was gross, right? And so we fixed it. It was a short sale. He ended up getting out of it. But then, like I said, we turned it around. Obviously, like I said, bought it for about 147, sold it for 513, and then obviously you see what I got back on it, but then my net on that was 90, about 90,000. All right. This one here, this woman, um, her boyfriend, when she moved into him, passed away literally 2 weeks later, dropped dead in the house. And she was like, I want nothing to do with this house. Get me out of here. Her attorney called me. We closed in 2 weeks. The house, you could see it wasn't in terrible condition. We only had to put about 35,000 into it. Because there was some, like makeshift kind of stuff that was done. Like the kitchen was fine. We didn't touch it. That bathroom, obviously we did. And then the basement. But then we turned that one around, like I said, sold it for about 390 and then profited 56,000 on that one. And that was in about, I don't know, 8 weeks time. It was pretty quick. This one here, guys, this woman was making her house was making her sick in the basement. You can kind of see there was just some mold that was growing in there. And honestly, like the moment she moved out, her cough stopped. And so that was pretty awesome. But we bought this one at 105, renovated it for 100 grand, sold it at 307, or 308, sorry. And then profited about 71,000 off of that one. And so as I'm going through these, it's like, gosh, think about this and like what this could mean, right? On some of these properties, because I had no competition, guys, on these. It was me and me alone. They didn't meet with anybody else, right? And that's the thing that makes this so different is that there's not going to be that competition there, right? Guys, this is that house that I told you took me a year to close. If you see some of the stuff in this house, take a look at it. Okay. That was a 4,200 square foot house. The whole thing was like that. The entire house. There was a dead cat in there. There was cat poop and like everywhere. The whole basement was full of stuff. I mean, it took my clean out guys a week to clean out this house because there was that much stuff in there. The woman had fallen down the stairs and had traumatic brain injury. So she was in an assisted living community. Her husband then lived in the house and then just left it to squalor, and lived pretty much on Insure and Miller High Life. He passed away. His daughter wanted nothing to do with the house, but this is when all the judgments came into place. There was a foreclosure coming. There were tax liens. There were, there was also a mechanics lien there. I mean, it's like you name it, there was all the things, right? And the judgments got lost by the bank. So like we had to, I mean, it was crazy, right? But the cool thing is that I worked with the sister, or excuse me, the woman who had the traumatic brain injury, her brother. He lived in Georgia. I'd never met him, but I worked with him. We got it to close, right? They ended up walking away because they had enough equity in the property, I think with like 30,000 in their pocket from it. And the great thing is like I said, that went towards her assisted living to help her be there. And forever eternally grateful. And that's the thing is, this was probably my most difficult one. And then this attorney now I've done, I think, 6 deals with, because like I said, she keeps coming back. And there's a reason for that, right? Because again, like I said, building that credibility and that brand people know now that you're able to do these things. And so this is one of my quickest turnarounds that I've had, guys. This one was a TOD, or a transfer on death deed, if you're familiar with those. So there wasn't a probate that had to be done, but more or less the mom who had passed away, transferred the deed upon her death to her son's name. He told me, he's like, I don't want anything to do with the property. He's like, I just want 200,000 for it. I'm fine with that. And I was like, well, I can do better than that. I said, how about 215? And he's like, okay, like that's amazing. And that was my number on this property. It didn't need, like a ton done to it. But again, like I said, when I did my formula, this is what it popped out to. And it ended up selling for over asking. And we profited almost 100,000 on it. Here's the thing I want you to know is that from the time that I got it under contract with the seller to the time the buyers bought it, right, and closed, it was 90 days. So I don't think there is anybody here who can tell me that 100 grand in 90 days would not change their life, right? And that's the thing is that the power of this is that he didn't talk to anybody else. I went there that day. I came with my contract. He signed right there. That was it. Easy. We closed in 2 weeks, got the work done in, I think like 3 or 4 weeks. I think 3 weeks because they finished it 8 days early, which never happens, but it did. They finished early and I actually paid him out for that. And then, like I said, the new buyers came and closed. So that's the greatest part about this is that, like I said, the possibilities of what could be there. And so a lot of the times when we think about this, I want you to really think about what is it, right? What if you could get these inbound leads with little to no marketing cost, no, competition, all those kinds of things. Like, what if you could wake up in the morning, right? Maybe make yourself a leisurely coffee, right? I don't know. Maybe you want to get up at 9, who knows? Or maybe, you have young kids who want to go to school, right? Or that you want to take to school. You have the time to do that. Go to the gym at 2 o'clock if you want to, right? The cool thing is you can come back and check your inbox and know that there's going to be stuff there for you to work leads for, right? That nobody else is going to have access to, right? And that's the thing is that, I don't know, maybe you want to donate to charity, right? Enjoy your work. You can go and exercise, right? It's the end of the year. I think everybody's thinking already sometimes about January, right? After the holidays pass by and everybody stuffs their face with amazing food, right? I mean, why is January the month where everybody's like, oh, I'm going to turn things around? New Year's resolution, right? And so that's the thing is that, I don't know, take your grandkids to Disney. I mean, whatever it is, take up woodworking. Like I could think of all these things because I don't spend a ton of time on the marketing anymore because it's all coming in. And so, I don't know, are you a river cruise? Like I said, I could go on and on, right? Yours is going to be a life that's well lived because you took decisive action, right? And so the thing is that when I think about this, you guys, I've spent a long time doing this. And I did this because what it is for me is a change in the way that I invest. And the thing for my students too is that it's a change in the way that they invest. And if we all keep doing the same things, then we're all going to keep banging our head against the same wall, right? And so I spent the last 5 years, okay, creating, testing, optimizing, right? This inbound lead source because I wanted to produce stellar results, right? And that's just a plug and play right into your business and make it as easy as possible. Because if you guys remember in that beginning, when I was with that first coach, like I said, his voice is burned in my brain and he was from the South. So I remember him just saying, just keep on doing what you're doing. And it's like in my head, right? Over and over again. And I'm like, I don't want to keep doing that. It's not working, right? So I make it as easy as possible. It's like a plug and play. You just put it right into your business so that you can hit the ground running. All right. And so one of my students that I had, Carlin, she was with me this summer. And one of the coolest things that she was able to do was she said, do you not believe that I'm like, she's like, I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to take. And that's the cool thing is that this was from May to July. So it was about 6 weeks, right? From her getting everything set up in her system and sending out her stuff. She's like, hey, Jen, I just wanted to follow up and let you know that I have my first attorney meeting tomorrow. I'm going to his office, so it's going to be, more convenient to him. And so I followed up and I was like, hey, Carlin, how did it go? She goes, oh, it went really well. He's going to have something that comes up. So we'll see, but thanks again for the guidance. And I was like, okay, well, that's awesome. Right. And you guys are going to see a testimonial from her because she ended up telling me that this is now a partner that she's been working with for a really long time. And so one of the things, this is Carlin now, so I'm going to have you guys watch this from Carlin.
My name is Carlin Winery. I am a real estate investor based out of Connecticut. And before joining Great Deals First, we were really struggling finding quality leads that not everybody was going after. We were sending out a lot of marketing materials and we just weren't getting the conversion and the return on investment that we were looking for. So we're exploring some new strategies. And when I heard about Great Deals First, what really drew me in was that it was about building quality relationships with the right people and incorporating systems to continue to have these touch points and they would produce over and over again. So within the first week of me sending out our initial marketing materials, we had already gotten our first meeting and now it's a partner that we plan on working with in the future ongoing. So I can't thank Jen and her team enough for being able to teach us the skills and implement the systems and actually also have the conversations that we need to have to start adding value to people right away and keep them coming back to us. So thank you, Jen, and thank you, Great Deals First. I highly recommend you guys and have a great day.
And Carlin's actually out by you guys. She's in Connecticut. So this next one here, Before I play it, or actually, you know what? I'm going to play it first. I'm going to show you Andrew, and then I'm going to tell you what he's done.
Great Deals First is a terrific program. I highly recommend it. Before this program, I wanted to reach out to probate lawyers, but wasn't quite sure on how to go about that. How do I find my leads? Who do I talk to? What do I say to them when I'm in front of the lawyers, or just calling them or emailing them? And what is my unique selling proposition? What makes me unique amongst all the other people that would contact these lawyers? Jen's program is a shortcut to this. It's a shortcut. It's a roadmap on how to go about this. This saves me 2 to 3 years of trying to figure out the best way of trial and error. Now I know how to contact my leads, where to find my leads, what to say to them, where can I add value to their clients and to them, and what is now my unique selling propositions. This is a very effective program on how to go about and doing this, as proven by Jen herself, who has actually done it, and all the other clients that she's had, including me. Again, highly recommend. Go out and buy it.
So the thing I want to tell you about Andrew is, here's the other part, guys, is that when we think about attorneys, right? And I started this with probate attorneys, and it's grown into something more. Now I market to divorce attorneys, bankruptcy, tax, criminal. If you think about it, if somebody goes to prison, right? Your breadwinner goes to prison, what's going to happen to the house? Probably going to go into foreclosure, right? And so thinking about things that way and thinking outside the box. Divorce, I think it's clear. Tax, obviously. Bankruptcy. Here's another one. Immigration. It's exactly what Andrew focuses on. He is in Texas. There's a hotbed going on there, right? And so regardless, this isn't a political statement. Whatever happens, right? Immigration in our country, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, right? But the thing is that if we can be there, if people end up getting deported and we can help in whatever way that we need to help, right? That's who he contacts, right? And so he said, like, if I can work and help these people out in any way that I can, that's exclusively now what he ends up doing is he talks to immigration attorneys. And so there's so many different types, like I said, in this realm of people, who are working in, who are working in this, that like, it's totally worth it to sit there and think like, okay, who else is, like I said, that's why I said abundance mindset, right? I also want to show you guys some of the things that has happened in my actual coaching groups. So when I have people live, just to kind of tell you how this can also, like I said, work really fast while you're in the program.
Yeah, good. I just got a nice response today saying that I'm going to pass this along to my client, which was great.
Yeah, that's great. See, it's pretty fast. I love that. That's really awesome that you've already gotten. There you go.
I was surprised. Yeah,
I'm telling you, like, that's why this is so, because nobody's doing it, and so they're like, oh, I didn't even know you guys existed. That's great. I love hearing that. That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know, what is that? A week and a half later, 2 weeks?
No, it was a day.
Okay. No, I'm saying of like you doing this, right?
No.
No?
It's been 2 days.
Okay, cool. That's great.
I haven't been keeping up on other things. I've been, I also do loans,
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Wayne. And then here's Stacy, guys.
Sorry, you're talking about wins. I actually have a win.
Okay, I'd love to hear.
Not that I got a house out of it yet, but I went to have coffee with that attorney that I hadn't met yet. And so anyway, we were there for probably an hour and a half, just chatting away, and she has 2 probate situations that she's hoping that she can convince them to sell right now. But even better, she's introduced me to a new networking group that I didn't know about. And we're having that event at our office that I told you about. She has taken our invitation and she has shot it out to other centers of influence. So not only have I met somebody to try and get business out of, but she's cast my net even further. So I was very excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the power of it, right? Like I said, that they'll do your marketing for you, right? And so they'll get to that to where your name then spreads based on the work that you've done, and then they push that information out. So that's a huge win, Stacy. Like I love hearing that, because that's what this is. It's to get good people to work with good people, and that's what everybody's looking for.
So I love those because you know, I think so many times when we learn to market, I mean, guys, it took me 9 months to get my first deal. And I think that's pretty standard a lot of the times, especially, you know, when you're learning and you're understanding these things. You know, it's like, well, gosh, you know, I'm going to have to keep doing this for 9 months, or I'm going to have to keep doing this for a year, or maybe I'm never going to get a deal. And that's the thing is that they were both really surprised. And that's the cool part. Like, yeah, Stacy didn't get a house out of it yet, but it's also widening her networking, right? And so that's the cool part of that too. And so, why is this weird? Okay. So, guys, it's the best untapped lead source I've ever used. And I'm sharing it with you, like I said, because I think sometimes in a way, I mean, real estate investors can have a really bad name. I mean, you see all the things that I was called, ambulance chaser, scum, you know, all the things. And the thing is that, you know, I have some folks that have said to me like, well, yeah, I've built these relationships, but, you know, I mean, I've done some deals like that. Well, that's great, but do they keep coming back to you each week? Right? Do you know how to build these relationships? Right? That's the thing. Does it survive past the first deal? Right? Do you know how to provide that consistent value? Right? And this is something, like I said, that I've mastered. And I think it's so important because you could, you know, if they don't know about you, and that was the one example I showed you, is that one attorney who I, you know, had not even met with yet face to face, he still was getting all of my stuff and really liked my newsletter and was like, hey, let's meet. You know, you've sent me enough stuff. I hadn't annoyed him, right? And did it in a way that he really appreciated. And so what this does is it teaches you how to do this, like I said, and this doesn't have to just be for attorneys, right? I do this across a lot of different platforms. I do this with realtors, right? I do this, I also do this with financial planners. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do, like I said, to now build out your business based on these strategic relationships. And this is just kind of like your jumping ground, right? And so a lot of the times, the special sauce is really about that coffee meeting or Zoom meeting. When you meet with them one-on-one, I teach you how to actively listen and I teach you exactly how to add value right away in that meeting so that when you leave, they already are sending you leads. I mean, honestly, probably 8 times out of 10, when I leave these, they're like, you know what? I actually think I have somebody really good for you. Let me go into my email and send it to you. And that's the good part is that learning how to build that when you're in these meetings immediately, right? And it's not manipulation, it's influence. That's what this is about is influence, right? And becoming that person and having the right conversation to add value to them in their business, right? And so that's really what the special sauce is about Great Deals First. I think because anybody can really send out marketing and do all, you know, do all that stuff. You can copy the how, right? But you can't copy the why, right? So I like to look at this as starting unknown and finishing unforgettable, right? Once this strategy is there and you build your brand, the deals come to you, right? So taking action is usually the best thing you can do. And a lot of the times I say this to people, and obviously I can't see you guys, but usually I'm going to ask the room at this point, how many people have really expensive bookshelves? Right? And what I mean by that is how many seminars and how many things have you gone to and like bought a program or done the things and then said, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And then it just sits on your bookshelf, right? I think a lot of people end up doing that. We all do it. We're all guilty of it, right? And it sometimes takes the right person that you need to meet and that accountability that's there. You know, I had my assistant in place, and in like 2 months I stopped touching my marketing. And that was really cool. And that's the thing is that there's even a lot less work in here. And I thought I was behind, you know, when it came to it. But the thing is that a lot of people sometimes don't take action and taking decisive action is probably the best thing, you know, that a lot of people don't do that I think is probably one of the most important things when it comes to real estate, right? I think a lot of us are going to make mistakes as we go, but a lot of the times I'd prefer to make the mistake versus, I mean, obviously not making silly mistakes, right? And not doing your homework and due diligence before, right? But making decisive decisions about how to propel your business forward. And so what I want to do is talk to you guys about what Great Deals First is about. Okay. So what Great Deals First is, right, is there's 2 different ways for you guys to do this. All right. And what that is that there is a at-home study course, right? This gives you access. There's all pre-recorded videos and modules from me so that you can do this at home. You can study at your own pace from home and then really take that real estate journey on to the next level, okay? So you get access to our whole masterclass, which is, like I said, covering all your essential topics, all the proven strategies. You're going to get 4 of those pre-recorded videos from me. What those involve, the first one is about like your CRM, if you don't have one, which is client relationship manager. A lot of the times these are really important for you to keep track of your leads, how to mine data, how to find your data, right? And then how to implement it into your CRM. Your second video is about building your credibility kit. I show you exactly how to do all of that. We can help you build your brand if you need to, if you don't have one. And then we also go through exactly the newsletter, right? I send out a quarterly newsletter, what you can put into it. We can help you build out, the templates for it. All this stuff can be done so that you are set and ready to go, right? LinkedIn is a really big platform that I use. And the reason for that is because that's kind of becoming like the new place to be is LinkedIn. And especially if you're building business relationships, it's an amazing place to use, amazing place to go to. So all of your marketing timelines, all of the exact wording that I use, guys. I give you all the scripts. Everything is right there. All you have to do is download it and put it right into your CRM. So I make it as easy as possible for you because this isn't about you jumping through hoops. This is about you getting to deals faster and being able to finish and like I said, having those results sooner than later because I had to wait too long and I didn't like it, right? The third video is really that special sauce, right? Is about how you're going to have these conversations, with these attorneys, how you can build value right away, how you can get to like, know, and trust you immediately, right? When you're sitting in those meetings. And then really how to walk away from that meeting with deals, right? Sometimes even in your inbox. There's also a lot of follow-up, emails. We do like a coffee invite, we do a drip campaign. I mean, all this stuff is there for you to keep in sync with them for the next year to come. All right. Oh, excuse me. Before I go to that one, the fourth one is really about accountability, keeping track of your metrics. I don't know how many times people are like, I'm sending out this marketing, but I'm not getting anything back. Okay. Well, how many letters have you sent out? I'm not sure. Well, how do you know which letters are working or which messaging is working if you're not keeping track of your metrics? Right. And so that's something that we have to keep in mind too, is that what is it that's working? Because a lot of times then you can make small tweaks along your way, which is then going to make your bottom line even better because you're like, okay, this is working really well, or it's not working. Let's make this one small tweak and test it. Or this one, not working. I know we need to change this. So like, that's the kind of part that holds you in there and then and accountable. And then talking also about referral partnerships, right? I think you guys heard me. We start out with probate attorneys, but then it can go to bankruptcy, it can go to tax, it can go to immigration, it can go to divorce, it can go to, criminal, whatever it is, or it can go to realtors, it can go to financial planners, it can go to, accountants. I mean, there's so many different people that you can start building these relationships that this is really the foundation of how to do that. Then, like I said, too, you'll get an access to all of the resources, right? So like I said, all of the email campaigns, all of the letters that we send out, the LinkedIn messages, the timelines, right? The credibility kits, and so much more. A lot of the times I send out swag. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's like stuff that's Property House, which is my, our business. We send out stuff to people, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't send it out at holiday time. You know why I don't? Because everybody else does. You know when I send it out? July 4th or St. Patrick's Day, right? Because it's different. It's something outside of the box that you're going to be set apart from those people and not just be thrown with the masses of everyone else, sending out holiday stuff, right? And so that's the small little things like that you're like, duh, I'm going to stand out from these people. And that's the small little tweaks, like I said, that really make a difference. All right. And then the timelines. Timelines are so important. It's building out workflows, right? Of when everything goes out and there's a strategic time that things go out so you don't annoy them like I did, right? In the beginning, there's certain times that these things go out to them. So it's not, peppering their inbox with annoying things. It's actually sending them things that make sense at certain timelines so that you're always at the forefront of their mind, even if they don't have deals for you, right? And that's the thing is that there's some of these, attorneys that I don't talk to for a year, but they've been getting my stuff and they've been exposed to me because of, posts or little email things that I send or my newsletter or whatever it is. So it keeps you, in contact with them so that they know exactly who you are. All right. So that is our at-home study course, right? And so all of it's there for you. You can get started. You guys, typically I charge $29.97 for this program. Okay. But in talking with Duncan and deals that I am doing with this RIA, guys, I'm dropping the price $2,000 for you. It's $9.97. Okay. Which a lot of the times people have said to me like, wow, Jen, that's like a no-brainer. And it gives you access to everything. There's nothing that's held back, even at that price. All right. I also offer a group coaching course. And what this is everything that you get in that first course, right? Everything that's listed there, plus, so like I said, this is all the same stuff, right? But then you also get live coaching with me. So it's 12 sessions, guys, of weekly live group coaching. This is interactive group coaching. You get real-time guidance from me. We do set up coaching sessions. They're held on Wednesdays from 12 to 1 Central Time. I have a lot of students that are like, I don't know if I can make those. Everybody gets access to the recordings. You can come back to it. And then the other part too is that you also get access to a private Facebook group, which is specifically just for my coaching students. So a lot of people use this week to week to answer questions. There's also for people for best practices, some of the OGs are in there that have been doing this for a while. So a lot of them are also able to answer some of the questions and stuff that people have, but it's me answering all of these questions in there for you. It's part of being a successful community. Some people have even done deals together. Like just on my call yesterday, I have two people, like she's just bought a probate deal, and then one of the guys is in construction. So he's going to run the construction program, or project for her. So people are collaborating. Like that's the coolest part, is that that's available. All right. Now this coaching program that I have, like I said, I normally charge about $4,000 for it. But again, here guys, $19.97 for it tonight. Okay. So giving big discounts for the RIA, like, that Duncan said, obviously for your guys' RIA membership too, tonight, you guys are getting a nice big discount. And so we're doing that here for you guys tonight too. And so, sorry, give me 1 second. I had COVID last week, so I'm like still trying to recover from it a little bit. It's like the 4th time I've had it. I'm fine, right? I think all of us kind of are in that boat, but yeah, so I just wanted to, like I said, go through this with you guys. And then on this page here, here's our options, okay? If you guys want to do this, the way to get this down to that $9.97 and $19.97 is to do the Coach 360, that code, all right? And then our free gift, like I said, for you guys also staying, you can scan that QR code there up in the upper left right-hand corner. What that free gift is for you guys is how to get a yes from people in 3 easy steps without any heavy competition, right? I'm not asking you for anything in that. Like I said, it's our free gift. But what I wanted to say is that these options, like I said, I'm hoping, like I said, that you guys feel that there's some value that I provided to you tonight. And if you're not ready, that's okay too. But know that I'm ready to get started. I know that, and in fact, like I said, even when I have people sign up tonight, we start next Wednesday with coaching, because I am an accountability person. I want you to get started immediately, and I want you to see success. Now, the one thing that I do know is that because it's December, and also, my classes are on Wednesday, I don't have class on Christmas because I celebrate, and also New Year's Day. And so what I'm offering for people tonight is that, knowing that if you're not going to be around or that doesn't work for you, I'm more than happy to have you guys start in January if it makes more sense. Typically, like I said, I don't really do that, but because of the time of the year, but you still will get access to the course and you'll be able to start. And so, like I said, you can do some of your own due diligence. And even if you want to join, the group coaching sessions, if that's what you choose to do is group coaching, then you guys can do it that way. It's like I said, I'm super excited that you guys gave me the possibility to be here. And I really appreciate it. And it seems like I talked a lot faster than I normally do when I'm standing in front of people, but that's the power of Zoom, I guess sometimes. So I apologize for being done a little bit early. But I wanted to leave this up here and answer any questions. I know there was some chat that was going on, during the session. But I just want to thank you guys, and I would love for you guys to take some decisive action tonight. Join me, and I will hold you accountable and make sure you do the things you need to do. And like I said, I want to see you guys to success faster than anybody else, like I said, when it comes to this stuff. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate
And
it.
wow, thank
Yeah,
you. I'm really impressed. And one
thanks.
of the subjects I taught during my time was when social media was new and not many people
Oh,
were
sure.
doing it. But now everybody and their brother does it, and standing out on
Yep.
social media now is really difficult. And a lot
Yeah,
of us
it
old
really
timers
is.
that have these houses don't even do social media anymore, it's just too cluttered in that. So there's a lot of noise online. 100% agree. I believe in direct marketing, but everybody's mailing the same list.
Yes.
Um, so we've really done a complete loop back to, you know, it is, I don't even know if it really, left, but, relationship marketing is
Yes.
really the power of doing more deals. And when attorneys. Now, I did probate deals, but I was only mailing the personal representative. I never
Yep.
mailed the attorney directly. So that's always a different approach coming in there. And it's actually, I think now after listening to you, mailing the PR is a lot different than mailing the attorney and setting up relationships and coffee meetings and saying, hey, he can go and say, let's get this done. Here's the guy. So
Yep.
you're piggybacking on his authority to get the deals done. So that makes a lot of sense. And then you were started talking about, well, heck, you got criminal lawyers, you got all these houses they put up for bond, and they got to, how many people skip bail on that? I guess they got to do something with the houses there. You got divorce, huge one. Mailing the
Yep.
divorce list is one way to go, but again, you got to get both parties. So when you have an attorney, I think that's going to make it a lot easier. So I think that, and there's, like you said, there's many different ways to get into attorneys, and if you're adding value for them and you're performing, I mean, I don't think you really need to do any other types of marketing really, except maybe just build your brand a little bit,
Yep.
which you do cover in your course, right?
Right. Yep, I do. Absolutely. Yeah. There's the whole credibility kit. Like I said, I teach everybody how to do that. And then also, I mean, a good thing to do is on LinkedIn, if you follow me on LinkedIn, that's a really good kind of case study of that because that's really what I've used. LinkedIn is such a good resource and really undervalued. Like I said, I think a lot of it is coming up now that it's, becoming a um kind of like place to be, for businesses. But there's also a lot of people also hate LinkedIn because there's all this junk mail that comes to them of like all these offers and all of these things. And so again, it's being strategic and having the right messaging, specifically in LinkedIn too, to make sure that you're not getting people, blocking you and not wanting anything to do with you. So that's the biggest part, I think, is like I said, learning the language and the timing and all of that kind of stuff when you're speaking to, professionals, especially.
Okay. And then I just want to clarify is that you do not have to be a flipper to work this
No,
system. If you're a wholesaler and you just want to get a
absolutely.
lead into it, I mean, it is also for them.
It's wholesalers. I have a ton of realtors also.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is because a lot of the times, I mean, it's great actually to be a realtor for this because you can give them the option of like, I want to buy the house if they also invest, or I'm sure they have investor friendly people. I'm sure, Sarah would probably have somebody if somebody wanted to do that, or they could list the property if they want to. I mean, there's so many different options. Um, I don't flip as much as I used to anymore. I've gone more to like a buy and hold strategy because I've been doing some shared housing stuff. But the thing is that the possibilities of what you do to the house, I mean, the exit plan is yours and yours alone. And so, a lot of the times too, one of the things I forgot to mention is that digging deeper also too into what these people have available because sometimes sure they may have a house but they may also have investment properties or they may have businesses or assets. I can't tell you how many cars I've bought, and then We resell those. Likewise, we bought other investment properties. I bought failing businesses before. I mean, there's different things that you can do just outside of the house. So it's kind of like I said, thinking bigger. And that's, like I said, what you build value on, of when you meet with them. And then also thinking how you can add value back to them later in terms of like investments. Like if you have properties that need funding, well, maybe they're going to be your funders. They obviously can't be on the properties, that they refer to you, because that's illegal. And also just to be, you can't give them a referral bonus either. That's also illegal. And so it's providing value in ways that are not monetary, benefits for them because like I said, they have to follow certain rules too. But, there's so many possibilities. And I talk about all that stuff.
All right, so let's just talk about the at-home study program for a minute,
Sure.
because I think one of the biggest things when people buy a course, very good intentioned, is that will they see you again after they have this course? Will they be able to send you emails or get some calls? I know it's not the same as coaching, but
Yep.
you know,
Yeah. So
support.
Yeah. So if people are like, nope, I don't want anything to do with you, Jen, you don't have to see me again. That's fine. But if people want to join our Facebook group, and be part of that group, at least for some community and be able to, talk to me that way, that's an opportunity. If anybody wants to join, like some drop-in sessions, they can do that too. There's also an option to do, if they say later, like, nope, I actually need some coaching, you can join our coaching group. So it's like, I mean, people just have to tell me what it is that they want, and if they're not finding success fast enough, yeah, like that's never something that I want people, like I said, people have expensive bookshelves and I don't want that to be that way for people. So if, there's some other way for people to get in contact with me and use those things, then like I said, that's a really great way. That's a really great way, like I said, of utilizing some of those resources and, popping in if you need to.
Okay, so the big question then, that comes in is, do you answer your emails? Some
Yes.
other question.
So no, that's a good question. So what I usually say to people is if it's like a technical question and those kinds of things where people are struggling with that, to send it to our support,
Okay,
email. Those are not typically ones that I do. I am not the IT expert, but people on my team are. But the place to ask questions and get feedback is in that private Facebook group, which is going to be, I answer all of those questions. That is me every time. And so that's what I've always said to students. I'm like, if you have something come up, that's the place to post it because it's going to be me answering, or the other, people who are in the group, they're going to be able to answer those questions also because some of them, like I said, have had that experience.
okay. April asked you do regular live streams to the Facebook group.
So I do not. But one of the things, it's funny that she said that because my plan is actually in 2025 to start doing some live streams to the, like to the private group, of doing just a little bit more of maybe doing like some walkthroughs of places or things like that. Because a lot of the times what ends up happening is people are like, okay, well, I've got, especially if they're new, they're like, well, I've got this deal now. And I don't really know, I don't know what to do with that. Like, where do I find money somewhere? How do I bid this house out? Like, how do I find people? So I started getting some feedback from people now that they're starting, to get some of these deals that they're looking for a little bit more. And so what I'm going to start doing, I'm planning all of that out right now for 2025, is doing some of those live streams or doing, different webinars or different things like that to address some of those issues so that I can, keep people being successful.
Okay, and Johnny asked, is joining the Facebook group an additional charge if you purchased a home study program?
Yep, it is. It's a nominal fee. It's $29 a month. And you can stop it at any time. But being part of that group is obviously something that our group coaching students have already paid for in that fee. And so yeah, it is just a nominal fee per month.
Yeah, that's actually incredibly good price for a month repository of other
Yeah.
investors in that. That's awesome. So I guess my last question tonight is for the complete newbie who
Yeah.
has, talking to an attorney is sounds challenging and overwhelming.
Yep.
so do you really make it that easy? Do you suggest role playing, or what would you tell them?
Yeah. So, like I said, that third video that I do is really like how to create the wow experience. And I have done some role playing with people. Like a lot of the times, in our group sessions, I'll pretend to be the attorney or I'll be the investor or whatever it is that people want to do. I'm happy to do that because I mean, frankly, I've gotten really good at it. I've done it over 200 times, and so that's the thing is, yes, like if, folks are saying like, hey, can you, maybe just like you said, role play. I mean, that's exactly what I do. So yes, I mean, I want to make this as easy as possible and have people be as successful as possible for as little amount of money that we can. Because again, coaching a lot of the times, ends up for some, like, I mean, you heard me, I've spent 60 grand and I didn't get anything out of it. I mean, that's a lot of money to spend. I don't regret it, because it's led me to where I am. But I don't think people should have to spend that much money to get coaching, in order to be successful. And so,
Right.
like, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
You said something during the presentation that six, I believe it was success shows keys or something along that
Success
line.
leaves clues.
Leaves clues, yes.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yes, it sounds like a great idea. Some people think, oh, can I verify the cost? But why don't I just call up attorneys and just say, hey, we buy houses? That's really not giving them the wow experience and what they want to hear, correct?
Well, yeah, you're going to get the responses that I got, right? Which is that I'm a nuisance, right?
Yeah,
And that's the thing, like they don't have time for that. Honestly, I don't call any attorneys because it's not a good way. It's not a good way to reach people. They don't answer their phone. They're not going to call you back. And so that's the thing is I'm getting in there without calling them, which that's probably the number one way, to get sellers is doing cold calling. And I don't
yeah,
do any of that. Right.
good.
And so, but I'm still getting to people. And so that's the thing is being able to have those like little tidbits of information of what it is that's going to make them swoon, really, right? Of like, oh my gosh, I need to work with this person. Right.
Yep. So, in my mind, this is a no-brainer. If I can piggyback on your success, knowing what to say, how to present myself, to go and get more deals faster and stay ahead of the pack, you know, this is a tax write-off too. It's education for your
Yep.
your business.
Your business,
So
right.
you did a phenomenal job tonight. The pricing is spot on. Great information. People are just saying thank you, Jen, 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 all over the chat bar. So
Oh,
thank
good.
you
Good.
again from Boston Ria. And guys, you just end off on time too. We don't have to keep anybody overtime. Uh,
Yeah.
I want to say, first of all, if you have any support messages, support at greatdealsfirst.com.
Yep.
Scan those codes. We'll take you to the link to get the deal. And